louder than they've ever sung it tonight. Seeing their Demons on their home track here at the MCG. Great effort against, no doubt, will be one of the gun teams this year, and great to see that man here tonight as well. The great Neil Danaher, the big freeze to come between Melbourne and Collingwood later in the year. Let's get down to Richo, the man that had 38 touches, Richo.
Thanks, BT. Cjristian, that was a really professional win tonight. They challenged you a number of times, and to come out in front of that packed members up there, that is a really solid win.
Can't really hear you, sorry, mate. It was a pretty amazing night. You know, the unfurling of the flag and seeing our past players here meant so much to us. And I mean, look at the crowd. It's so amazing to see Melburnians back at the G and living their normal life. And about the game, it was pretty similar to Granny. I mean, first quarter we started well, and we knew they were going to come back, and there was a lot of momentum. But I thought our backs were unbelievable. The ability to get the ball out of there. You know, they're a great team, and they're going to be up there, you know, this year.
You mentioned the legends that were here tonight to unfurl the flag. It was a special moment for the club. They couldn't be there on grand final day, but to see Ron Barassi out there and Gary Lyon and David Neitz and Todd Viney, it's a very special moment for your club.
Oh, it was amazing, and you know, we've all said it in previous times when we've spoken to the media that the fans have gone through so much, and you know, they're the people that have kept Melburnians, Melbourne fans at the game. They've given us a lot of pride and proud to wear the red and blue, and for me to wear this every day and my fellow teammates, it's amazing, and to see them back here is just truly special, especially Ron. I mean, he missed the day we had back at the MCG on the December, so for him to be here and watch us get a win and unveil the flag's pretty special. Yeah,
great to see Ron here tonight. You wouldn't count your stats, Cjristian. You're not a selfish player, but you had 39-2 in the grand final, 38-2 tonight. You've had a good pre-season, clearly.
Thank you, mate. It's been good. I mean, when the team plays well, we all just gel, and you know, I love playing with Clayton Oliver. He's my best mates. We gel so much. We connect. We help each other out, and it's great when you've got Big Max who tapping it down your throat too. So yeah, I mean, guys like Sparrow and James Harms allow me to play my role.
He probably sealed it, Big Max. He's taking the mickey now, isn't he? What's he doing?
It was, whenever I see him outside 50, he's not passing anymore. And you always see it go left to right. It's a bit of a wonky kick, never looks straight, and just goes in. So, I mean, we're on the ropes here, and that's the captain's goal.
Yeah, it was a great win. Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
All-round good night for the Melbourne Football Club to come out and come up against the team that they've played off and squared off against in the grand final. Unbelievably, Nick Revolt gave up 8 goals in a row again and still won by 26 points. It's an incredible performance on the back of what we saw in the last game of last year.
Yeah, and I think that's testament to Melbourne's confidence in their ability to just keep going to the world with their style. I mean, once you land on a certain game style, you've got an unbending belief in it. And Melbourne showed that tonight, despite the fact that the Bulldogs were able to get such a good run on.
I mean, we'll get into the finer details of the way this came about, but it's important, I reckon, from the crowd. I know the romantics in to see this, but it was a big night for this club, and now they're here, and the team have delivered. And there was a moment there where they got out to 22 points, but they were able to respond.
Yeah, we spoke about it before the game, Gaz, and to come back in front of their home crowd and be against the same opponent and to get the same result, albeit round one. But it's something that the Melbourne faithful were able to share in. And didn't it look and feel eerily similar at half-time? And that run of goals, that is a little bit of a concern, because I think their defence just dropped off away from their direct opponents and gave the Bulldogs some chance to move the ball and then score heavily. You don't want to be getting the habit of that against good sides, because it'll bite you in the end.
You're right, Bucks. Melbourne went to that extra number in defence there for a while. And it's almost like the other defenders got a bit sloppy with their accountability. We know they play a system where they like to drop back and support in the air, but I think they tidied that up at half-time and got numbers around the football.
Yeah, when Salem went off, McDonald went on to Norton, and May went on to like a Cordy. But I like the move of Goodwin to put May back onto Norton and ask him to get the job done at the end of the game. Yeah.
But I promise we'll let you take the coach's hat off at some stage. But if you're Simon Goodwin, is that a great asset now that you're able to come out, perform really strongly on a big night for the club, get the win, but you've still got something that you just mentioned defensively that you can review really heavily.
Well, absolutely. We got what we expected. Melbourne set the ground up really well. They forced 83 turnovers, which is a really high number. They scored 10 goals, 8 coming back from it. Bulldogs only got 5 goals, 4 from their turnovers, so they doubled them, and that really was how the game looked. They just set it up so well, and they have a belief in how they play. But yeah, there's still areas they can improve, and that's why you have a home and away, so he can get better and better.
Clearances tonight would be most of the other boxes they would tick. I think the clearance situation, which was an anomaly given the way they've performed throughout the year, but they got monstered in the middle part of the game. Now that's not going to happen too often. Probably the only area that they're going to look at and really be majorly concerned about. There were some laid outs, there were some unfamiliar names, and they come up against an opposition who are a quality opposition who are also missing names that are going to need some support throughout the course of this year. Aaron Norton threatened to just take this game away from them, but need support.
Well, the Bulldogs actually kicked more from stoppage than they did from turnover. You don't often see that, and you're not going to win many games if you're relying on that.
So here it is. It's going to be a pretty handy rendition, I would have thought. We hope we're going to catch up with Stephen May post-game. We'll talk about our...
It's a nice feeling, though, to settle back in, isn't it, Gaz? Like, we'll get to talk to the Melbourne players, which is exciting, but that's one you're happy to get through.
Yeah.
In front of your home crowd, you don't want to disappoint the celebrations. Obviously there'd be in the back of your mind little bits of doubt. Have we still got it? Can I still go there and perform as an individual? They survived, which is a pretty big stage, I think, in front of your home crowd, season opener.
No, I think it's a really big step forward, and you forget how quickly. I mean, this would be 2 years ago one of the great wins, in recent times for them to come out here in the season opener and give up 8 goals and be able to find a way to come back and win by nearly 5. So I think there'll be a sense of excitement. I don't know about relief. I think they've got expectations this side. They wouldn't launch straight into another one, would they, Rui? That'd be the only song they'd sing.
That would be good, Gaz. That would be good. Double down, boys.
Pull out the
jukebox. Free from desire.
They've got injury concerns as well. Tom Morrison, Kath Lochner are going to keep us up to speed with that. Salem knee, I think, in the end, wasn't it?
Yes, it looked like a bit of a knock on the knee, I reckon.
Yeah.
But, hopefully it's...
And Bontempelli was sore as well. So
yeah, he hurt his ankle. It was definitely his influence in the game was down for sure. So, 15 touches, something like that, well down, along with Liberatore. But he looked hobbled definitely in the second half.
Eerily familiar was the term that you used, Bucks, to the grand final in terms of the pattern, the way it was played, but also with the best player on the ground. And almost mirrored his numbers. Cjristian Petracca, 38 possessions, 8 marks. He had 16 contested, had 13 score involvements. I mean, he's, from a Brownlow medal point of view, just tucked 3 away and off you go.
It would seem to be that way. His capacity in the little circle, 5 metres either side of where the ball is, and he's the first one to get from where it was to where it is going to be. And his power and his speed and aggression to win the ball, and he's also a very good tackling player as well.
At what stage do they put some work into it? I mean, he sliced them and diced them in a grand final with 39, and tonight again he's had 38. At what stage, if at all, do you put work into it?
It's a question of your coaching methods. It's a question of modern football, which backs your team defence over a one-on-one. But as we spoke before the game, Dustin Martin demands it. Cjristian Petracca is demanding it. I think a Bontempelli demands it. There is space in the modern game for someone to run with just to quell the influence of a player who can put these type of performances together.
So why don't we see it, Bucks? Because I think a lot of people would sit at home and they would say, is it stubbornness that you just back your own system into a fault, and a guy, this is 2 games in a row now that he's absolutely destroyed them. So what is it? Is it that then you're a man down, you're down to 17 men around the rest of the ground with your team defence? Well, explain it to us.
often you can commit a play around stoppage, and that might just be enough, because I think Cjristian's doing most of his, or Petracca's doing most of his damage in stoppage and contested situations. So you want a player to lean in on him at stoppage and for the immediate contest after. But I think he's playing that well at the moment. He's probably going to do just as much damage, to be honest.
I love when he senses the moment, Gaz. And only the great ones do this. Obviously, Bucks was able to do that. I played with Michael Voss. Yeah. That second quarter, Petracca went quiet for 20 minutes. Yeah. And then he saw the game get out of hand. Bulldogs kicked 8 in a row. And it's like he just thought, hang on, boys. I'm going to drag this back into this. And he dominated the last 10 minutes of the second quarter. Melbourne's back in the game. He just does that consistently now, which shows he's a great.
It's a great question, and it's a debate we might take it up on Monday night. Don't get beaten what you know, by what you know. And has he been tested physically? Is there room for that? Does it take too much away from the way you play?
Well, so if you look at the opposition midfielders, so you've got McRae, Treloar, Smith, Bontempelli,
Liberatore.
Who's going to do the job?
Liberatore.
Dunkley may have been asked to lean on him at certain stages.
I reckon that there's the way the game's played now with the zoning and the protecting space. Like we saw a bit of play up here in this forward pocket where Petracca, he stood by himself in the forward 50, and there were players around him, but no one actually went and stood next to him.
That's my point.
The kick got pulled, and Petracca gets on the end of it and goes back and kicks the goal.
So you're a forward, and it would never happen, right? And when I'm not joking about this, you walk around with company all day, arm across, fist in back.
Couple blokes.
And one coming back into your space as well. There's a player of the you've just put him in the Buckley and the Voss category in terms of where he's going. Walking around the ground on his own.
Yeah, I think he's
on his own.
Yeah, and there needs to be better accountability, and that can happen in play. And there is team defence. Obviously, Bucks knows that firsthand, but he's just going so well at the moment. I don't think you can stop him. So I think teams now are just going to back in their system, because I think they look at their players and go, yeah, Dunkley may have tried it for Beveridge in the grand final, but I'm looking at the Bulldogs tonight going, who's going to do it? Who's going to stop Petracca?
15 minutes of Libba just going nuts on him. You know, just doing what Libba does.
Look at Libba. Libba's a small
That's
midfield.
All right, better than nothing.
But he's going to bully him. He's going to ragdoll him.
Ended up with 39 and 16.
So
it's going to be... There were some Bulldogs players that had some big numbers too.
Yeah.
They didn't win a game.
Didn't have the influence.
So last one, Buck. So you've been on the receiving end of being able to play your own way in the midfield and being tagged. What does it do to your psychology if you're Cjristian Petracca and someone comes and he whacks your arm across you and you know he's with you for the night? What does it do to you mentally?
Yeah, it's harder to play, and that's what you're trying to make it harder to play.
Arrest my case.
Get in there.
No, but I know we've been talking about this for 3 or 4 years.
I think that there is a time that will come where that has to happen, and it has happened with certain players, and it might just happen for Petracca.
We can pick it up again, because we've got our special guest here. We had the choice of all of the Melbourne players. He's one of our all-timers. Stephen May's been able to join us. Maisie, a nice way to come back after a long pre-season up against an opponent that you got great respect for. Give up 8 goals in a row and still emerge 26-point winners. Well done.
Thanks, Gaz. It certainly was a massive build-up, man. Had a whole pre-season to get ready for this one, so I'm glad we we got the win. But the Doggies, they're certainly a tough outfit. They keep attacking you, and Norton, man, he's just a star. He's getting better and better. Flies at everything. It's bloody hard to play on, but I was glad I was able to do my job on him when it mattered. But I know when he kicked that goal on the last, I was thinking, oh geez, I hope he doesn't get on a run here.
Steve, well done, mate. Tell us about that second quarter when you have a run against you, and it hadn't happened late last year as well. What's the talk amongst the boys? What are the key messages that you come back and focus on when you're communicating with each other on field in those circumstances?
Yeah, Bucks, the momentum's, it's a tough thing in footy, and when you can't get your hands on the footy in the midfield, and to the Doggies forwards' credit, they were making us pay. But I had a pretty young backline, or inexperienced backline in terms of we haven't played much together. So I was trying to stay calm. When they went bang, 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 they kept going. I was trying to keep my cool because I didn't have my normal band down there. But the thing is, like, if they're that good and they're going to do that the whole game, good on them. But no team can do that. So we knew we'd be able to arrest momentum at some stage. And when that happened, we just had to take this thing out of the game. I think we were turning the ball over as well once we did win it. But the Doggies, it was pretty similar to Granny. That second quarter, winning ground ball, snapping goals, getting their tails up. I felt exactly like the Granny for a bit.
Stevie, we know you were always a bit of a talker out on the ground. You used to drive me bonkers trying to have conversations when we'd play on each other. But, mate, you mentioned you had the band out tonight, so 4 of the grand final back 6 were missing. Do you take on a more vocal role as a leader in that back line on a night like tonight?
Yeah, I usually just communicate with the back sort of 3-4, and Jakey Lever and Cjristian Salem run sort of the stoppage and that middle layer. But, you know, we had Jake Bowie, Angus Brayshaw playing up in that high position, and then Tommy Mack was coming back, flying at everything like a forward, so had to remind him of his job. And, yeah, I was trying to talk louder, but playing in front of a big crowd again, you know, most of the last year there was no one in the stand, so it was quite easy to do it from full back. But, yeah, I remember I used to try and talk to you a fair bit, but you'd give me donuts, man. It really used to hurt, but I understand you're in your A game.
Couldn't keep up with him. He was running running about 50 Ks all over the field. Hey, Steve, we're just having a conversation about Cjristian Petracca, and obviously he's he's Norm Smith medalist, dominated again tonight, 3 votes. Why doesn't he get tagged, or has he been tagged in the past? What's your observation of all of it?
It's funny you say that, Brownie. I just said to Norton in the goal square when I saw Track had 37 touches, I said, are you guys going to tag him? And he goes, no, we don't tag. So I thought, okay, that's your system. But I think he's been tagged a bit. Clayton usually gets tagged, so I know Christian's been working on ways to work around a tag, but yeah, it didn't look like he got tagged tonight. I think some teams, like we don't tag too often, some teams back their system, but I mean, if Track's going to keep having 38 and that tagging, I'm all for it. Don't tag him.
Can anyone stop him at training? Does he ever get tagged at training? Who does it?
You know who really can stop him? Tom Sparrow, because he knows how he plays. Yeah,
His value's just gone up.
Mate, Tom Sparrow, he's a gun. I think he's going to take a big step this year, but he's a strong bull, and so is Track. And I think when you're one-on-one with him, it's quite hard. You know, he gets compared to, you know, Dusty and those sort of players, but when you're one-on-one and you can't tackle him and you've got that burst of speed, there's not much you can do. So he's had a terrific pre-season. He was doing what he did tonight all pre-season, so I think he's in for another big year.
Stevie, we saw you head straight in with the coach, Simon Goodwin. Did you pull the iPod out and play some tunes in there?
No, we didn't. Goody just got us in quickly and just sort of touched on it's been a big build-up, and he started talking about Gold Coast straight away. So our mindset shifted. Didn't even let poor Toby Bedford enjoy his first win for about 2 minutes. He's always started talking about the Suns, who are in really good form. So, yeah, that's where the coach's head's at.
We wanted you on because you are the most honest man in the whole team. So was there anything in the build-up with the song, this stupid song, or was that overplayed, or was there a little bit there?
Oh, mate, it was definitely overplayed. I think most teams around the league were playing that song throughout the season.
Come on, Stevie. Come on, mate.
It wasn't, you know, we didn't play it because we were trying to mock the Doggies. I think that was blown up a bit. But, look, you know, it's a great song. Australian cricket team played it. Liverpool played it. I mean, if it's their song, they should take it up with those teams as well.
Was it played at the nightclub that night, Stevie, as well?
Brownie, you wouldn't believe it, but I wasn't there that night.
No, I don't believe that either.
Don't believe that for a minute.
Hey, well done. Fantastic. Great to see you. Terrific result in front of the fans who loved having the footy back at the MCG, and onwards and upwards for the Demons.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Stephen May joining us there. The Richmond Footy Club's been the dominant side in this competition for the last, let's say the last 5 years or so, and we lauded them and looked at them and the way they played, and you guys spent time, everyone tried to unpack how they played. What are we seeing there? Are we witnessing something here from a Melbourne Footy Club point of view, a style of game that we're going to be talking about similarly in the next year or two?
We are, Gaz. So how many times, boys, have we sat here over the last sort of 4 or 5 years and spoken about, gee, that looks like a Richmond game. So I think we've got to start talking about Melbourne in the same fashion. And it's really uncomplicated for them, that the way they go about it. They deny the opposition movement, they win it back, and then they punish you going back the other way. So this game was in the balance for periods, but Melbourne never panicked. They never panic because they know their system is going to get them through. And it's just their ability to deny the opposition movement. They make it hard for you to move the footy, and they eventually force you into these areas, and they go back and they punish you. So like we've spoken about Richmond games, now we have to start talking about Melbourne and their DNA and what games look like when you come up against the Melbourne Football Club. And it's everything away from the clearance. that stands out, which is hard to capture if you're at home watching on TV. Yeah. But when you're here live at the ground, it's clear.
Oh, I love that play on words, by the way. That's clever.
It's in DNA. We love that. It's incredible, really, being here to see it. I think their running power overwhelms teams, doesn't it? They've got incredible running power across the board, even their bigger guys. We know Max Gawn and Luke Jackson are great athletes, but they're fantastic. It's like they've got an extra 2 or 3 midfielders because they're half forwards. Their forwards get up so high up the ground, and their wingers can run from end to end and just do wind sprints all night long. So they've got fantastic support around the contest at all times.
So at halftime, the Western Bulldogs are right in it.
Yeah.
But when you look at the numbers and the way the game was being played, the Bulldogs had a really good run from scoring from stoppage, which is, you mentioned straight out of the game bucks, it's not sustainable to win games of footy that way. So Melbourne don't panic. They back in their system and they grind you. They grind you down, just like the Tigers have done over the last 4 or 5 years.
You remember a couple of years ago, Melbourne had a really good offensive structure, and they were lauded for the work that they were doing going one way. All you heard from Simon Goodwin towards the end of last year, and if you listen to when he was mic'd up in the grand final, he was always talking about the next 30 minutes is their best defensive effort. And then they go and pile on another 8 or 9 goals, but it's off the back of defence. So they've changed their mindset. It's about setting up the ground. It's about turning it over and then working the ball back towards their goal. And they've got enough talent there now to score heavily. So they're not worried about their scoring. That'll look after itself. They're worried about their defensive mechanisms and how they set the ground up. And it's a springboard game, and they deserve credit because it's taken them a couple of years to turn that around. But it's got them one flag, it's set them up for some really damaging footy.
So you look at the numbers from tonight. Western Bulldogs win the clearances 41-30, but it's not a clearance game anymore. Those numbers that we just saw before for Melbourne, that DNA, you deliver those, you win 95% of the time.
Hard to play against, hard to score against, which has been part of their DNA. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Aaron Norton he's been lauded as the next big thing. When a big key forwards, 58 goals from Harry Mackay was the win last year. This bloke is the one that looks like he's going to take a step into the next stratosphere. And Stephen talked about it. We just talked to Stephen May. He said he flies at the ball as hard as anyone. He's just so true in the air, and that's hard to defend.
It's a great compliment from Stephen May's direct opponent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's played on plenty of great forwards. I love this guy. I love his competitiveness. The first thing you learn at key forward school, boys, is don't get outmarked. This guy often goes against 2, 3, I think he was against 5 opponents at one stage, and he at least brings the ball to ground. So, yes, we're showing some vision of marks, but he just competes and competes and competes. I think he's been able to improve his set shot accuracy, which has certainly helped the confidence of his teammates to go to him. He's an absolute beauty.
They're going to need some help.
He came in and was recruited as a key defender. But then what he's able to do is unique. Like that to launch yourself, it's not unique, but to launch yourself at the ball, it's an elite strength that he has. And it's not common in today's footy. So to see him do that, you need to get him in front of the ball, and he's starting to do a lot of damage.
Just hope that he can get some support. That's the only thing, because there's going to be a lot of footy funneled through him, and teams will just start to concede.
Is Josh Bruce likely to play at all this year?
Yeah, this year. Yeah, he's on track to play later in the season, and he's the perfect foil because he's a competitor.
Yeah, but it is a real issue. He needs support. I mean, he'll go as hard as he can in a pack and one out, but he needs some support.
We saw Josh Jackie playing up on a wing at times as well, so
he's not the answer.
Gives you an insight into where the Bulldogs think he's at. Hey, there's a couple of injury concerns from a Melbourne point of view. Cjristian Salem and Marcus Bontempelli, it has to be said, didn't look fit towards the second half of that game as well. Let's go down to Tommy Morris and Kath Loughnan with the latest.
Yes, we'll start with Melbourne side of things. So Jake Lever was a late out, and then Cjristian Salem went down in midway through the first quarter with some sort of knee concern. He seems to be in good spirits, though. He was just sitting behind us having a laugh with teammates and enjoying the win. But what's the story here, Tom?
Yeah, Melbourne's official line is he'll have scans over the next 24 to 48 hours. On that knee that he's hurt in that incident there, he was actually on crutches behind us just before, in a bit of discomfort. But as you said, in good spirit. So hopefully it's not too serious. Hopefully it's certainly not an ACL, but they will have scans in the next 24 to 48 hours. Also, Jake Lever was a late withdrawal tonight. That's a ruptured plantar fascia. Now, I think all you guys up at the top of the MCG there would know that's actually better than a half ruptured plantar fascia, but they'll wait and see whether he's available for next week or not. They've got a 10-day break, Melbourne, before their game against the Gold Coast Suns.
Tell you what, a lot of late drama pre-game this evening. So also Cjristian Johannesson from the Western Bulldogs had leg soreness. They didn't really give us much more detail than that, the Western Bulldogs. But what about Marcus Bontempelli? What's the story with him? Because he looked off.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see what Luke Beveridge says in his press conference about Bontempelli. He was clearly a bit sore. I've spoken to the Bulldogs about it. They didn't give a lot of clarity. They're pretty tight-lipped. There is 8 days until the Western Bulldogs' next game. That's against Carlton in round 2. So we'll see, again, whether he's fit for that. But you suggest, unless he's seriously injured, that he'll be okay to play. But you're right, he didn't look 100%.
Yeah, went off around that in that third quarter too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And they're very tight-lipped, the Western Bulldogs. They don't want to give away too much on these injured players. Cjristian Johannesson, again, just leg soreness before the game, not even an area of the leg, and Marcus Bontempelli just soreness. So, again, we'll see what Beveridge says, but I don't imagine, based on the events of the past few days or even the past few years, he's going to give away too much.
Not celebrating too hard down here, are they? Good vibe, though. No tunes being played, though, is there, Tom?
No, it's good. It's a good vibe down here from all Melbourne people. Gary, I'm sure you've been enjoing it if you were here yourself.
Yes, indeed. We'd enjoy having you down in the Western Bulldogs rooms, Tommy, if you allowed in. We're going to go to a break. There's another big game of football tomorrow night. Behind him, and he's now about to talk about his first win for 2022.
I guess it was a bit of a roller coaster, but good to get the 4 points in the end.
Yeah, I think there's no question about that. Every time we play the Western Bulldogs, we know we're up against, and there's generally big momentum swings in the game, and I think you saw again today that happened. And once again, just our ability to adapt, reset ourselves, get back to the core way we play was really important. And the players have worked incredibly hard at that, and I thought it was on show again tonight. And it's a great way to start in front of our supporters, on a pretty big occasion for our footy club. I thought it was terrific.
I guess it's early in the season, but you're up against the second best team from last year, and already early signs that the way you played last year already you can really see them. It's round 1. How pleasing is that for you? Heading into the rest of the season. Yeah, we sort of try not to look too far ahead, and there's a big build up towards this game based on last year and the start of this season. But we know it's a marathon as well, and we're preparing for that. Through our summer, and how we want to play and endure for the whole season. And tonight was a good step in that direction, but there's so much footy to be played, and we're really focused on how we can continue to get better as a footy team. But as I said, the number one thing that I wanted to see tonight, and I don't really care about how much offensive score we kicked, but defensively I thought we were sound for the majority of the night.
Is that extra pleasing considering you had 4 of the premiership 7 in the back line out, and then you lose Cjristian obviously in the first quarter? Was that extra pleasing that they held up given that adversity? Yeah,
I spoke to the players pre-season around opportunity, and that would be challenged in a range of different areas throughout the year. And leading into round 1, we're challenged in one area of the ground, especially in our backs, and to lose Salem early in the night and for Tommy Mack to go back. I was really proud of our defence, our backs. So I thought they held up incredibly well, especially in that third quarter. I thought they had 15 entries for 2 points. And they did a terrific job. Joel Smith came in after missing last year. Adam Tomlinson coming back from an ACL. Jaden Hunt, who missed out last year. And then you throw Tommy McDonald in there and Angus Brayshaw. It's a bit of a different looking back 6, and they got the job done.
Had Tom done any work in the back line this summer? I mean, he spent the entirety of last year forward. Had he planned for that in any way across the summer?
We used him a couple of times there last year. But we hadn't used him through pre-season this year. But Tom quite often reminds me, he comes in the office and reminds me, don't forget about me as the defender. And I'm glad I didn't, because we planned that if we lost it back, that he would be the one that went down there.
Yeah, any sort of early assessment on Cjristian's there?
Cjristian Salem?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll have scans tomorrow. We're pretty hopeful it won't be too bad. So we'll just wait and see on that. So we're hopeful that it's not the worst possible news, and it might be a few weeks, but it's in first indications it's not looking too bad.
And Jake Labour, late withdrawal. What's the go with him?
Yeah, so he tore his plantar fascia on Sunday at our main training session, which is, for people that don't know, that's a good thing. So now that gives him a chance to really recover. It's been niggling him for probably 4 or 5 weeks now. So we'll let that settle over the next, we've got 10 days to our next opponent. We'll see how he pulls up in the next 4 or 5 days. And, we're hopeful that he might be available for next week, but we'll wait and see.
Had he been trying to tear it for a while, given that that can be the method to actually go out and, Robert Harvey style?
No, he hasn't been doing the Rob Harvey jumping off benches. He's just been doing his normal training. But, it's, as I said, it's a good thing that it's happened now, and it gives us a chance to get him right and hopefully not have a prolonged period where he's away from the game.
Toby Beveridge took his opportunity with both hands today. On the fat side of the ground, he was really impressive with his work rate. How hard has he had to work on his endurance and that kind of stuff over the summer?
Oh, he's an incredible endurance athlete, Tobe. What he has had to work on is incredibly hard to get into the team. And I'm glad you raised him because I'm really proud of him for what he's been able to deliver. And, he's one of a guy that's competing with, Charlie Spargo, Cozzy Pickett, Alex Neil-Bullen. He gets his opportunity tonight. And I think we all saw that, we've got a really encouraging player there that, we can move forward with. So I was really happy for Toby because I know how hard he's worked to get that spot in the team, but also that opportunity. And he took it with both hands.
What are you saying, some safety protocol stuff where it's headed? On the eve of round one for a few teams. It must be, pretty satisfying to know that you've got such depth in this squad.
Yeah, look, depth's really important, and we've got a lot of players at the moment that are working incredibly hard to get their game up to the level to get selected. And as I said, opportunities are going to keep presenting themselves. We've seen a lot of opportunities down back, and there'll be opportunities throughout the year in other areas. And our guys that are preparing themselves just need to be ready for those opportunities when they come.
What was the catalyst for first the momentum switch to go the Dogs' way, and then for you to get it back after they got out to 22 odd points?
I think our supporters worked it out pretty quickly. It was centre bounce. I think we lost 4 or 5 in a row, and every time it was going in, we were starting to lose contests behind the ball. So it's an area that we needed to stiffen up in and get our stoppage work to a level. But our ability to defensively work really hard to hold up down back was outstanding as the game went on. And then we started to get our own little bit of momentum with some intercept that worked really well for us.
To end up winning contested possessions plus 20 against one of the best midfielders in the comp must be pretty pleasing for the coaches as well.
Yeah, as I said, our game is built around contest. It's part of the game that stands up, when it really matters. So it's something we work on really hard. And, the 2 elements of our game that we pride ourselves on the most in contest and defence were really high, throughout the night. And I was really happy with that as a coach.
Well, it's been of the rivalry between the 2 clubs heading into the game. We've heard some comments from different players in the lead-up. How much of that was, if any, was mentioned in the pre-game, or you just gave that a wide berth?
I think what you saw again tonight, the quality of the footy between the 2 teams is incredibly high. And we have amazing battles in terms of momentum swings. And I think that's where the rivalry sits, is that they are great games of footy. They're tough games of footy. And they're games that the supporters love to come and watch. And I'm sure these 2 teams are hopefully going to play some cracking games for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And that rivalry is going to continue to build. But we have nothing but respect for the Western Bulldogs. They're a quality side. They play the right way. And, they're going to be there when the whips are cracking.
Were you expecting Lockie Hunter to play, given all the in and out, to and fro?
Oh, I don't know. I don't try and look into it too much.
Thanks, Rudy.
Thanks, guys.
Well satisfied, Simon Goodwin, Melbourne coach, as you would expect there. They got an injury concern with Cjristian Salem. A little bit of that language pricked our ears.
Yeah, it was. Well, he said hopefully it's not the worst news, which...
Yeah,
that was. I just thought it was strange language to use when he sounded pretty confident that he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Cryptic.
Maybe we're reading too much into it.
All right, we've got to wrap things up. Tom's got to get to Luke Beveridge's press.
Oh, God, I need Angus Brayshaw's helmet.
You reckon we're not going to sit around and wait for that one? Good luck, Thomas. Add a little bit of entertainment. After 10:30, you can go into the adult theme. He'll be right, won't he? We need to send Big Barney down, sort him out.
I wouldn't have thought so. Tommy's on his own. He's got the big boy pants on, doesn't he? He'll be right.
You'd go and back him up, wouldn't you?
He's done his apprenticeship. I'm going home to sleep.
Not yet, you're not. Sydney GWS going to be massive. 2 big storylines. The Giants have got their own storylines as well. We spoke about Cornelio and the fact that he's back. Yeah. Paddy McCartan at one end and Buddy Franklin at the other end. What a contrast in terms of the careers that they both would have been touted as top 4 picks. I think Buddy was 5. Well, he might have been 5. And Paddy was 1, but Paddy comes back on the verge of Bud kicking 1,000 goals. I think it's fantastic.
Well, their stories never end, and it seems like the COVID situation has hit us really early. I mean, for sides to be affected like that, it just proves how much of a deep squad you need. Melbourne are in a really good shape with that regard. I mean, theirs is through injury, no COVID concerns, but you need to have senior players or exposed talent that can come up and fill that role, and we're going to see that as early as this weekend.
The other thing is too, ideally you want your players to have had COVID and been exposed, and that's a problem for the Perth teams. They haven't been exposed to it. So I think you'll find a lot of the Eastern Seaboard teams, most of their lists have had COVID recently. So it's going to be an ongoing concern for the clubs. All of a sudden you lose 4 or 5 of your best players.
How big an issue do you think? I mean, we don't want to be scaremongering, but you hear today there's a new variant that's come that's... Are we expecting an issue like this from where the women are experiencing from a men's point of view?
I think the odd issue along the way. I don't think it'll be common, super common.
Well, I think the NFL just got on with it, didn't they?
They did.
And they had times
they got to that
wide receiver. You might not have had 2 or 3 of your first choice wide receivers, and you just got to find a way through it. Well, you're missing your preferred quarterback, and I think that's just the way of the world. We've got to move on with it. The AFL have done a great job over the last couple of years, and we're going to see this happen.
You can understand the women, can't you, Bucks? Because that's a final. You can understand one of the women's games being postponed.
Pretty extreme too. I mean, over half the squad have got it.
Yep. Well, we can keep our fingers crossed. We're just getting news that Tom has wandered down. The press conference won't start.
No.
Here he is, Luke Beveridge. No, it'll be interesting press conference.
Looks a bit scary too with the handlebar, doesn't he, Bevo?
So, I mean, the Western Bulldogs had some issues that they've had to deal with as well.
We've got a heart rate monitor on Tommy at the moment. It's about 180.
Is it? I think it's a sponsor ball. He probably needs to put that one back.
Well, we look forward to hearing, and particularly on Marcus Bontempelli. I'm sure they'll be asked about him.
Horse Longmire, the little bloke's...
Let's go now. He might say something interesting here. This is Luke Beveridge's press conference right now.
Righto. Yeah, kind of, Riley, but I just feel like they are too even with their individuals, and we're comfortable with our strategy, implementation of it by and large, but ultimately, the opportunities and not being able to capitalise after we had that momentum really told, and then their sort of trademark connection stuff inside their own 50s started to come to the fore, and they made the most of it. So disappointing night, all in all.
Did it feel similar to the grand final in the sense that you've done the work to get yourself in front, then the momentum sort of shifted pretty rapidly?
Not really. I mean, we did our mids, and Tim in particular did an outstanding job at centre bounce, and didn't feel like we put our backs under any duress with any of their clearances out of there. I think, the differential there was considerably in our favour. We'd kicked 3 goals up to half-time from centre bounce, so obviously that was a key factor, in the last game we played them. So it didn't really feel like that at all. It just felt like when we went forward, we didn't connect, and then, they went the length of the ground, and we're able to capitalise. If it wasn't, I thought our cohesion team defensively at different times was pretty good, but just our ball use waned as the game went on. It wasn't flash early, but there's a couple of sliding doors moments, where the play on inside 50 and the drop mark inside 50 that handed them a bit of momentum, and from those two, they probably didn't look back.
Have to get around like Josh to sort of just get his chin up and keep his spirits up after those moments.
Which Josh?
So Josh Shackey.
Look, Josh had an important role tonight, and he moved around a bit. But I think for his involvements in the game, he'd want more out of those, and we've got to keep working with him on that and getting himself in some good spots. And he played in areas of the ground we needed him to. Obviously, we went with a bit of a strategy around the one ruck and some pinch hit. We felt like that was working. He was caught up in that, but yeah, as the weeks go on, hopefully, he keeps emerging.
Well, can you talk us through the events of the last few days with a few players, JJ, Martin, Lockie Hunter, in and out of the team. Melbourne was similar as well. Is that just normal round one preparation to, be uncertain, I guess, at how you're going to prepare?
You've got the nerve to ask me a question and even be here. So you've been preying on us the last 2 times. You barracked for Melbourne, Tom Morris. Been preying on us. You've been opening us up, causing turmoil within our football club by declaring our team well before it needs to be declared. Is that the way Fox want you to operate?
Yeah,
is that what you're doing? Is that the gutter journalist you want to be?
No.
Is that who you want to be?
If you let me answer,
right?
Luke.
So we went in with a plan. We had some late stuff go on with JJ, unfortunately coming out in the warm-up. Everything other than that was according to plan from the Sunday, which somehow you've found out about again. So we need to get to the bottom of this. Obviously, we need to put our hand up and say that there's some leakage going on, but you're preying on it. And it's a team you barrack for. Your conflict of interest here is considerable. And yet your gutter journalism at the moment is killing us and behind the scenes. This is why the health and well-being of people in the game is caught up in all this stuff, because we've got things to concentrate on performance-wise. We've got to look after our own. And then you cause all this muckraking trash that happens behind the scenes, and names get brought up into it, and all we're doing is planning for a football game. Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're proud of yourself?
Yeah, Fox backs me completely.
Wow.
And to be honest,
no, that's enough. That's enough. Next question, please. Next question. Mate, you're not welcome.
No, this is the AFL's press conference, and I'll sit here.
It's
the AFL's press conference.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think you got enough, boys and girls. I think we're probably done, aren't we? Okay, so this is what happens, because I know, and I know Sam Edmund does it, I know many of you, Riley, I know you'd do it. If you found something out, you'd ring Adrian Shed and say, look, I know this, just so you know that I know. Something's happened, it's got out, and the courtesy and the integrity and the ethical way to go about it has happened in the past. Now, this bloke here, and what he's doing, he's giving everyone else a bad name. And right where we're trying to stabilise our competition and what we do with everything that's gone behind the scenes, and us, as coaches and a football program, with the soft cap situation as it is, and this sort of stuff happens. You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment. An absolute embarrassment.
Well, we sit here and a little stunned and a little shocked, to be perfectly honest. We had a bit of fun about the fact that Tom was going to go into the press conference we didn't expect, or I didn't anticipate that sort of reaction. An overreaction from where I sit on the basis of Tom Morris being able to break a story about a player not being selected in a team. I want to get both of your thoughts on this. Now, he's our man and we back our man, right? And I thought that was, to describe him as a gutter journalist, was way over the top. That's the way I read that, my first reaction.
No, it's poor form, absolutely. Tom Morris is there to do his job. Bevo's there to coach the football team. Tom Morris is there to get news about our great game. It was about a drop player. It wasn't about a mental health issue or anything like that. Tom is there to find out information, which he double checks and he clarifies. We know he does his work beyond the scenes. So you'd absolutely back Tom for what he's done, and I don't think he was out of line at any stage.
And to call into his question his integrity because he may or may not support the Melbourne Footy Club.
He's out of line again. So to say he's got a conflict of interest because the Bulldogs were playing Melbourne, he's out of line. So muckraking trash was the terminology that Bevo used. I think Bevo's just lost his composure there, been under a bit of pressure or whatever. Because to report, and Bucks, I'm really interested in your take on this as a coach who.
What's the only take that matters?
That's right, because you guys are under the pressure. You've sat in the seat. You know what it's like. To report on we're talking about a player that's been dropped from the side. Yeah. We're not talking about, as you said, a player's medical issues or mental health or anything like that. I think Bevo overstepped.
So your immediate reaction?
I was stunned because he's departed from the normal coach's playbook, which is to not shine a light on those things. He's admitted that there's information getting out of his own football club that he's not happy about. I mean, and to say that Tom has taken advantage of that, it's like putting an Easter egg in front of a 5-year-old kid and expecting him not to eat it when you walk out of the room. I mean, it's there. It's a free hit, and that is Tom's job, is to share information that comes across, to check it and verify it, and then to share it. Look, I understand Bevo's perspective, and because virtually in a coach's position, you don't want any information. You want to control all the information in your football club, and when you can't do it, it agitates you.
Understand. We understand that, but it's not.
And often the coach he'll be agitated, but he won't share that. I mean, he shared it, and he was quite direct with Tom.
Yeah.
In that, very direct.
Yeah.
But that's abnormal. We don't see that very often, and there's going to be ramifications from that, because that is...
So inside the football club, because as soon as you start pointing the finger at leakages within the football club, the concern is it causes distrust. All of a sudden, within the organisation we're talking, now people are looking, going, oh, hang on a minute, are you revealing information? Are you revealing information? That was alarm bells.
I like it when the stories from the day or the night come from the grass, come from what's happening on that side of the white line. I mean, unfortunately, this is a big story out of tonight, and this is going to be replayed.
Has he let himself down? Has he let him and the coaching fraternity down?
Bevo has a great belief in his side, in his squad, in the way that he sees things, and he's a dog at a bone. Like Tom got that information and shared it, because that's in his nature and his job.
His job.
Bevo sees this as something that he needs to address, and he's just put it out there. I think that I'm not surprised that he's done that, because I think he's very passionate about his football club, and he wants to stamp out the leaky information that he was talking about.
So if he's gone that hard at the journalists that reported it, how hard is he going internally to get to the bottom of where it came from?
Now we're not talking about footy.
But that's right. But would you expect
him? And Luke has caused that of his own volition. He chose to do what he did. Now that's an emotional response, and he's created something that he's now going to have to handle and deal with over the next 2 or 3 days, maybe longer.
Gutter journalist. He's called him a gutter journalist and a muckraker, and questioned his integrity for doing his job. Now that's a poor reflection on him as a coach, I think, in this instance. And I know Luke, I know him well, I know how passionate he is, I know how hard he defends his turf. I think he's let himself down in this instance. The AFL will look upon this too. As Tom pointed out, Luke doesn't get to invite who comes to the press conference and who asks the questions. It's an AFL press conference. And then to wind it up in the manner that he did.
And let's keep circling back to what we're talking about. We're talking about a player getting dropped from a round one team. Like, it's not high on the list of things that you can report on in AFL world, really, is it?
So the backstory of this was that Tom knew that Ryan Gardner wasn't playing in the grand final, and ran with that. So this is the next game that the Bulldogs are playing, and it's run with again.
But every journalist in grand final week, worth his salt, is trying to find out what the grand final team is.
Yes, and
no problem with that.
And that is a fact. But that's what's sitting.
But you've got to be better than that, don't you?
Yeah, well, no, I agree. That surprised and amazed me. I mean, I was sitting back here. I had to get told to pick up the mic. I just could not believe what I was seeing, because that is not what we have come to know. It's not what we've come to expect. There's got to be respect both ways. You've got to understand that there's jobs to do. It's a big industry. I'm a healthy cynic of sometimes
I know you are.
Of how we,
and that's okay. I think that some of your I think that's coaching mentality. Sometimes there's a siege mentality around it. We've spoken about this, rightly or wrongly. I'm sure sometimes the media get it wrong, and there is undue pressures on you.
But to personify it and to try and put it on one person, when I think it is an industry-wide issue.
I think there's something in that too. I mean, that was a pretty public, national attack on Tom.
I'm not sure. Are you expecting ramifications for Luke Beveridge?
Oh, I think the AFL won't like that one bit, and nor should they, and nor will the coaches. The media, AFL Media Association, won't like that one bit. I know people never barrack for the journalists, and that's people go, there'll be a talk back tomorrow morning on radio, we'll just light up, got your right whack. That it's a respect industry that we're in, and like it or not, Tom was doing nothing other than his job, and I think I don't think in the Western Bulldogs, I don't think Peter Gordon or the president of the Western Bulldogs will be too impressed with
I
that.
know he laughed about it before the press conference. Didn't realise that was going to happen, but Tommy had his big boy pants on.
Yeah, he stood up.
He stood up for himself.
He could have,
so,
he could have used with you. He could have used you in the press.
Didn't need me by the sounds of things.
He stood his ground.
So the only thing we've seen close to that was Mick Malthouse and Mark Stevens, and that carried on. But that was like subtweeting, wasn't it? Subtexting.
And the disappointing thing
in your face
is, as you rightly point out, takes our focus away from what was a really good game of footy. But anyway, that's the way the media cycle works.